Alright everybody, so welcome back. We're just going to get into the actual steps now in Resolve to take the clip that we had previously made in the online AI tool Kling using DaVinci's own services and take that clip and then turn it into the loop that you see right in front of you that's been playing. As you can see, our end product, it's not too bad. We've got some nice little breathing on the cat in the corner, and then we've also got the steam is looping all right, and the candles are flickering pretty well. No obvious jumping, jarring things with those. And yeah, so let's get right into it. We'll start off, I always like to start off in the edit, just that's how my brain works. So we're gonna go into our folder here. Oh, that's not gonna work. Downloads. I'm just going to take loop one, drag it in here. And so when you drag it into the master in DaVinci Resolve here, you can then just pull it right down, and you can kind of get a sense of where your clip is at. So I can actually just that a little bit, and then you can see bigger. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that weird bob thing. It doesn't really understand how to do motion kind of on weird planes like that. It has a hard time sometimes with weird specific motions like that. But obviously you can see the cat breathing works pretty well. Yeah, nice and accented. It's pretty chill. Little eyes moving. Cute. And then the steam works too. So the main thing that we'll notice, obviously, so if I play through this quick 7-second clip, but as you get to the end, I set it to loop, but you'll notice it jumps, right? Obviously, you call that a seam at the end of a clip. The seam here isn't going to work well because they don't line up exactly. And so what we'll want to do is we'll want to go into Fusion here. And what you can do with the Fusion in here that makes this work. There's a couple different ways to do this, but this is the way I like to do this. Pretty easy. Copy our clip twice. Or twice. We'll have two copies of the same clip, so copy it once, really. And the logic of what we're going to try and do is basically what you want to have is, right, like I said, as you get to the end of the clip, when it loops, you need it to be playing on the same frame so that it's seamless, so that it looks like it's just the same frame from before, and there's no harsh jump that would kind of ruin the spell of thinking that this is a live scene just continuing on and on and on. And so what we'll want to do with this thing, in order to kind of create that illusion, is we're going to kind of play around with the timing and the of the clips playing, and then we're also going to have the two different clips that we've now created, because this is one clip and this is the second clip, and we're going to use these and just have them dissolve together so that they kind of blend nicely. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take one of these and you're going to drag it into Time Stretcher, and then you're going to drag from Time Stretcher into Dissolve, from Media into Time Speed, and Time Speed into Dissolve again. And I should just to kind of clarify for people that maybe I moved a little too fast there, if you hit Shift Space in Dissolve or in DaVinci, it'll bring up this like Select Tool menu, and then you can just type whatever you want to do. So you can just type in Dissolve, like it was out there already, but you can just type it in and go click Dissolve, and you click Add, and then it just pulls it in. So, and then the whole goal with this little menu, this node menu or screen down in DaVinci is just that you can take different clips. This is a clip, this is a clip, and then you can add different tools in the middle there, and then you just take it as input. So you go from here and you drag this and say it'll run through this tool, and then it'll go over to this and it'll run through this tool, and then your media out is what will be your final product. So when you go media in into this time speed, which then goes into the dissolve and then goes to media out, that's the path that this is going to take and the different tools that will alter it along the way. So this is what combines them, this dissolve. So you can check on here to see this is the background, this is the foreground, and the way dissolve works is if I go to the frontier, background foreground says that the foreground will be in the front right now, and so this is the foreground and that first one here is the background. I'm just gonna rename these for my sanity in explaining these to you. So we're gonna call this B, That'll just be B, and we'll just say this one's, I'll rename it too, and we'll say it's A. So A and B here. So we want A is on our background, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to here, we're just going to go like this. So now A is our background. This means that A is now showing 100% here, and this button here sets a keyframe, which means that this will now be the main thing there. We go all the way over here. Then we can set this all the way to there, and that just means that the foreground will be the main thing here. And then it'll automatically set a keyframe, and then you can see now that just makes us a transition in between those. So over here, it's background. Over here, it's foreground. And then this little line up here is just the time of the scene. And so this is the frames, and you can see them counting up there. And there's 165 frames in total across this, 168. And so what we can do is we can go in here to time stretcher, and what we'll want to do is we'll set time stretcher to be something like, maybe on the midway point. Ooh, seems like it's already set something here. We don't want to do that. So we'll set time stretcher here, and we'll go set the, you usually want to start it on 0, right? Because that's your first frame. But what we're going to do is we're going to set this to, maybe the midpoint. 168 would be 84. Do we want to start on 84? Let's try 72 for now. I'm just winging it at this point, but it might work. We might have to adjust it as we get forward, but let's see. So we'll go 168 over here. And so that just means that over this course of 168 frames, it's going to play from frame... oh, it didn't set my keyframes, unfortunately, so hold on, I'm just going to set the keyframe. And we'll set this to... Let's actually start with 48, because that'll help with our timing, I think, a little better. Anyway, so you can see over this course of this 168 frames, it's going to play from frame 48 to frame 168. And so, you keen-eyed observers there, you'll probably realize that we've now cut out the first 48 frames, and we're stretching 168 minus 48, 120 frames over 168 frames. So it's actually going to move a little bit slower. So if you watch this here, you'll see it moves pretty slow. And we haven't set our dissolve to kick in, so it won't matter, but you'll see it's a little bit slower than it used to be. So now if we go to our dissolve, we can set, let's start on maybe something like, we'll do like a slow transition. So it doesn't really matter where we do it, but maybe we'll set it to start here. What frame are we on? This doesn't really matter, but I would like to zoom in on here. It's not letting me do that. I was really hoping you wouldn't be like this. Oh, I guess I can just do this, can't I? I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go, sorry. I can see where I'm at on the far right side there, I always forget. We'll do 48, and we'll set this to be 0 here. It'll set a free keyframe automatically. And then we'll say, you know, it's 24 frames a second. You can check that in your project settings. I can see here that we're at playback frame rate is 24 frames per second. So that means that every 24 frames will have 1 second. And so if we have 168 frames, we go 48 plus 24 will give us 72. And so it's 72. That is 1 second. We'll set it to a 2-second transition just to make it really gradual. So we'll go to 72, and then we'll go to 94, 96. And so here we just have to make another keyframe, and we got to go to 1. And so that's what that means. So our transition is going to occur from frame 48 to frame 96. And so when you get in here, right, and we watch this, let's see how it does. Let's just make this the main one. And so you can kind of see it doesn't really line up well. Not bad. Our steam's okay. But then as you get to the end there, there's still that jump. And so to explain that, right, we're starting, we go to the time stretch here, we're starting on frame 48. And at the moment, our background clip that we're transitioning into is also starting on frame 0. So it just kind of plays to the end here, and it finishes on frame 168. So we haven't actually fixed that flipping from the end of the frame, or the end of the clip, the beginning of the clip. And in order to do that, right, we'll come back to why we set this to be frame 48 at the beginning here, is that we can set a delay on this with time speed here. So we can set this to start on whatever we want, really, but more importantly, we can set it so that it will play and then it finishes on frame 48. Because if this finishes on frame 48 and this one starts on frame 48 on A, so if B finishes on 48 and A starts on 48, then they'll be on the same clip with the same frame, and then it'll be seamless. And so, now that I've done this, I realized I probably need to set this too. Frame a little bit higher, because if we start on a lower amount, that's not really going to work. Because if we start our transition, or maybe we just set our transition, we probably just set our transition actually a little bit later. So instead of doing it here, let's go like this. We'll play through for a little bit. On frame 48, and we'll do our transition. Let's start on 96. And then we'll go to, well, actually, let's just do it like this. So 168 minus 48 is 120. Then if we delay there, that just makes sense. So let's do it like that. So that makes it nice and easy in my brain. So start on 120 here. And we'll set it to 0. And then we just go to 168, and that's 1. So that makes it nice and easy. We'll do it like that. Let's start like this. And when we set the delay here, what we're going to do is we're going to delay 120 frames. And so that just means that we are now delaying for 120 frames before B will start. And so it'll go to 120, it'll start playing, it'll play 48 frames to 168, and then it'll loop. And so if I show you what I mean there, hold on here, why is this? Okay, doesn't want to play now. There we go. We're playing. Now let's see how our loop does. That looked pretty good to me. Now we've got a perfect loop, right, where we don't have a jump anymore, which is nice. So you can kind of see, yeah, lines up really well. And that's kind of the basics of how you'd sort of do one of these transitions and allow it to kind of dissolve into itself and just be really smooth. The nice thing about having your dissolve be a little bit longer over the course of, this is 2 seconds because it's 48 frames, just allows it to be a little bit smoother and less jarring. And so, yeah, that's kind of the basics of it. So now if we went out to our edit, we can kind of go to this, and you can see this is our 7-second clip. Oop, hold on, sorry, actually, we're going to copy and paste this just so we get 2 loops of it. Like that. That'll really allow you to see that it's the same clip, just looped again. So we got a glitch in our data. It looks like might do that flash again. That's annoying. Media files. Let's see if that fixes it. But anyway, that's the basics of how I create these kind of loops from the main kind of spot. And this is just a really basic example. There's more complicated stuff you can do with different animations and adding some different kind of transitions that way, as well as using the tools a little differently. And I'll get into those in a future video, but for now I just wanted to kind of show you how this kind of works and how you end up with this, little loop. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna keep working on these and see what I can do. Oh, just to finish, you'll want to name your file when you're ready to export this sort of thing, and you want to name your file. Make sure you designate MP4 format, H.264 the codec, and then set your qualities and stuff like that in your presets. I usually go for quality, but it really depends on what GPU and computer you got. So yeah, all right, guys, take care.